Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Hess, and today I'm going to be building a PowerApp. I'm going to do the risk matrix. So this is based off my last week's video. So we had like a risk dashboard. So we have a bunch of projects in our gallery of our PowerApp. These projects are stored in SharePoint. I don't feel like we're going to reach an item limit using SharePoint. I feel like SharePoint is a good place for this PowerApp to store that data. Today, what I wanted to show you was something really awesome that I really thought was neat. And that was I created a matrix, a 5x5 risk matrix. And so let's take a look on like Google first. So when we look up risk matrix on Google, we have our 5x5 categories here, low, medium, high, and you can rank these how you want. So I wanted to recreate this in PowerApps. And I did that just here. So we actually have our risk matrix here, and as we select, these two, it's going to populate which projects and the risks that are for, this setting, significant and likely. So this is probability here, and this is impact, and I just gave them names, 1 through 5, and so we can highlight like very likely. We can see the project name, the risk name, and you can edit this how you want. This is just my basic layout that I set up. And I'm going to show you how I created it. I really think this is neat. And of course, like CEOs, CIOs, all those C-class people, they love this stuff, right? They can take a big picture of all their projects and they can say, hey, check this out. We can see all our projects here. These are the ones that are at high risk. And we could probably even add like the owner's field if we wanted to. Who owns that risk, and we can get a big picture of all of our projects. All right, so the first thing I did is we're on a blank screen here. We're going to insert a gallery, and this is going to be a vertical gallery. We can, you can choose this one. It has the pictures. I'm just going to delete the pictures in here, and then get rid of the red squigglies, the issues. It's looking for the image and width. I do this a lot. It's very repetitive. So we have a number in here. I'm going to remove this bottom label. And now in the gallery, I'm going to go over here to wrap count, and I'm going to change it to 5. So that way, when we have 5 line items, it's going to display 5 squares. I'm going to get rid of this triangle here, the arrow, and we're going to insert a rectangle. And this rectangle is going to take up the entire space. But what I want to do is I want to populate the gallery with items. Now, I designed this manually. Let me show you what I did. I'm going to show you piece by piece. So I took these numbers, and I'm going to put this in the YouTube video description. I put these numbers in a certain order. And when we look at it, so let's say we have this title here, reorder it to the front. So we can see the numbers are in order, and maybe we don't have this big enough. Let's make this a little bigger and maybe this a little smaller. Just like that. Okay, so we have our 5x5 matrix. It goes up to 25. 5 times 5 is 25. And we can see the numbers that I put in here. It's actually kind of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you see that, and then I went 11 and 12 out here. 13, 14, 15, and it's kind of, I designed that manually because that's how I'm going to color the squares. So let me show you the code that I used to color each of the squares. Okay, so we're back on the rectangle, so we're going to highlight the rectangle. We're going to go to fill. So fill, I did this myself with if-then statements. So I'm just going to paste it in there, and I'm going to put this in the properties of the video. Just remember, all my equations will be there. All I'm saying is if the value is greater than 23, then it's going to be red. So you can see here, this is my red. Then the next one is if the value is greater than 20, so then it turns pink, right? And then next we do if the value is greater than 13, those are my yellows. So that's why I did the values like that. And then finally we have if the value is greater than 7, so greater than 7, it's going to be this light green. And then in the end, if it's none of that, then it's going to be this dark green. So this was the formula I used to color code my gallery. And that's totally based off just this value that I put in here. So if we go to the text or the items, if we go to the items, That's why I put the numbers in this order. And it was just to make, you know, the colors in a certain way. You can figure out how you want to do it, but this is just how I did it pretty easily. I knew that the risk matrix would always be 5 by 5. So that's how I designed this. Next, what I did was I added the labels. So all I did here was just, you know, go to text label, add a label in. All right, so this across the top is the probability. And so for the text, I'm just gonna write here, very unlikely. And you can name this however you wanna name it, right? And we just center it and I put a border on it. Maybe you can do 1 or 2. I did 2, I made it a little darker. And then I just kinda, you know, put the boxes straight across. All right, so now that we have borders here, let's put borders on our gallery item. So I'll just do that as a 2. So now we have borders all the way across there. Make this maybe 1 pixel wider, just to kind of match it up perfectly. All right, so now we have the value. This is just the value of my square. This is only used to color my risk matrix. It has nothing to do with anything else. This just colors my risk matrix. All right, so when we look at my impact and my probability, this may be something you want to do different than I did, but as I was developing this, I did an impact score of 10 and a probability of, you know, between 0.1 and 1 for percentage. You may want to just do, you know, 1 through 5 impact, 1 through 5 probability, because that would make it way easier on your risk matrix. So on Visible, I'm going to collect my issues and risk list from SharePoint. So if we go here, it's my issues and risk list. I'm going to collect each one of these straight down on the visible property of my screen. So I'm on screen 5 here. I'm going to say for all issues. Oh, I forgot the all. For all issues and risks. That's the name of my SharePoint list. I'm going to collect. I'm going to give my collection a name. I'm going to go call issues risks. How about that? That way, so they're similar. So this is the new collection. I'm going to collect each of the fields down the list. So title. So on the left side is the new name that I'm giving it in my collection. So in the memory of the app, that's my new name that I'm giving it. And then I have the SharePoint name. We just need 2 parentheses here. So if we go to the on visible of this screen, let's go back to my original screen here. So we're on screen 1. My new screen is actually screen 5. And just work with me. Hopefully you understand. I've been working on this a little while. So that's why I'm on screen 5. So when I click on View Matrix, it's going to collect, right? So it collects on the on visible property. And then we look at my collection. So collection, issues, and risks. We can see here the column is titled 32432. That's just the new name I gave my collection, and it collected each of the list items, although it only shows 5, from my SharePoint list. All right, so I'm going to go back to the on visible of screen 5. I'm going to change this to title. I want the column names to be the same. So left side, new collection column, right side, SharePoint name column. So after title, I also want project name, and we're going to make that project name. And on the left side, I'll probably remove the spaces. Then we're going to want impact, which is impact, and probability, which is probability. And maybe we want, I think, owner. How about owner, just in case we want that one? Owner is owner. And these are just column names that I have in my SharePoint. So you can see impact, probability, owner, project name. The rest of the stuff we don't really need in our matrix. All right, so now that I collected that, I need a way for PowerApps to know that catastrophic and very unlikely is a 1 and a 5, right? I want this to be a 1 and a 5. So what I did is I went to my items here. Instead of our numbers straight across here, right, we have values. I want an array of values for each one of these squares. So let me paste it in here. I made a table. So now I made a table. So 11 is probability 1, 5. So that's our first, box here. So let me just kind of show you. So if I insert a text label in this gallery spot, we can do this.probability, and maybe we'll put a dash in there, and this item.impact. So we can see that now probability is 1, impact is 5. And I did that based on the items that I manually put into the array. So box 11 has a 1, 5. Box 16 has a 2, 5. So box 16 has a 2, 5. And I just went through and labeled all of those. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a filter statement. And I'm going to say, hey, when probability equals a 1 and when catastrophic equals a 5, then put it here. But one issue I ran into was that, I had impact as 10 and probability as, so I have to do some math to convert it. If you did 1 through 5 here and 1 through 5 here, your life would be a lot easier, but I made it a little more complex on myself. I added a new label in here, right? So I added a new label. And what I want to do is I want to count the number of rows in my SharePoint list that equals 1, 5. So I said count rows of the filter of my collection issues and risks. So that's the collection I just made, right? And I said round, right? So you can round up, you can round down, but I want the number to be exact, 1 or 5. And of course, I had like a mix in there, with some decimal places, but I said round my impact. Now my impact is a 1 through a 10, but I want it to be 1 through 5. So this was an issue I ran into. Maybe you can do better, but I just said divided by 2, right? So if it's a 10, divide by 2, it's a 5. If it's a 6, divide by 2, it's a 3. So I just kind of halved it, and that gave me my 1 through 5 across here. And then I said round, and then I said if that equals this item.impact, then we're going to display it there. So let me see if I can get that working now. So let's see. Impact. Oh, and so in round, we have to see how many decimal places. So 0. So now I'm saying if this item, the round of impact, if half of impact is equal to this impact, then display it here. Now you can see I have 18, right? But then also we need to find the second number, which is the probability, and round the probability times 10, because mine's 0 through 1, so that makes it 10. So when you look at my probabilities, you can see here that my number is actually between 0.1 and 1, and if you multiply that by 10, it's going to give me 1 through 10. And then over here, my numbers are 1 through 10. I want my numbers to be 1 through 5, both of them. So that's why I did a little bit of math. And one thing that I was forgetting was on my onVisible, I need to clear my collection first. So clear collection issues, risks, onVisible. So let's try this again. So if we're on my main screen, and then I go in, then now I have the correct number. So let me remove the 1 through 5. So we can see I have 1 here, 1 here, and we can see each one of these is being displayed correctly. So now I'm saying, hey, for all of them, collect my collection issues, everything across, and on my label, I want you to filter when half of my impact in SharePoint is the 1 through 5 here, and when half of my impact is equal to the probability here. So now what I can do, I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller. I'm gonna make this a little bit smaller, I'll come right back. All right, so now that I've created this risk matrix, let me prove to you that it's correct. So I'm going to insert a vertical gallery, and I want to show you the collection issues and risks. I'm gonna get rid of this picture. Once again, this is just habit. All right, and up here, this text will be project name and risk name. I think that's fine. All right. And then I want to show also insert a text. I also want to show the probability. So we'll go top X first. So probability, ThisItem.Probability. And you can see that it's in decimal. So this is where I multiplied by 10. And I divided the whole thing by 2 to give it a 1 through 5. But also we rounded. So I have to round the whole thing 0 decimal places. All right, so now we have a 1 through 5. And that's what I wanted to display here. So now when I copy paste, now we're going to do impact, but it's not multiplied by anything. So we're just dividing our 10 by 2. So we can see here, California is a 1, 3. California structure, metal is not strong enough, is a 1, 3. So if we come over to probability 1, 3, that's here. That's the moderate one. California structure, building is too high, is a 5, 5. That's here. So let's prove that works, right? So we can see metal is not strong enough is here, and building is too high is here. All right, so now I want to filter the right side with the same filter I have in this text box here. So the same filter that's giving me my CountRows. So I'm going to take this filter here. Now I'm going to filter this gallery. It's issues and risks. But instead of when this item gallery 3, so that's the name of that's this gallery here, gallery 3 dot selected dot impact. And I'm going to do the same thing here, gallery 3 dot selected dot probability. And we just need to make sure the parentheses is right. So now we have the parentheses is right. So now whichever one I click on, right? So the top one was building was too high, 5, 5. That's here. If I select here, metal is not strong enough, 1, 3. So I can select them. 3, 3 is here in the center. So the next trick is to make an invisible button. This is just a known trick that I do. Make an invisible button right here. So blank, and we want the fill to be invisible. The fill to be invisible, but maybe hover fill. Maybe let's see if I leave it like that. Well, it's kind of full. We don't want it to be, we want it to be, instead of a 1 here, we'll change that to 0.3. How about that? Let's try that. So as we hover, it kind of highlights which one we're selecting on. And we can select on this one, select here. Maybe we can even fill it in when we selected. So I'm back to my rectangle fill. I'm going to say if this item dot is selected, then we're going to give it a color too, maybe RGBA, maybe like a kind of a white, but not all the way white. So maybe 201 across, and then we need one more parentheses. So now if the item is selected, we're giving it like a gray. So now we can see which ones we're selecting. Maybe you just want to, change that color around. But we can see this is the one I have selected. I now have a hover on it because of that invisible button. So we can select these two. We can see both of these are 3, 3. Here, this is a 5, so all the way up to catastrophic, to a very unlikely 1. So 1, 5. This one should be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 3, 1, 2, 3. Here we should have a 5, 5, a 4, 5, so significant and very likely. Down here we should have a 2 and a 3 up. So that's how I created my risk matrix. So let's create a new one just to prove it all works again. So let me create a back button. So insert a button, and this button just is going to go back. So navigate screen 1 on a fade, and we'll go back. All right, so we're on this screen. We're going to go back. We're going to create a new risk. Now I haven't set everything up perfectly, right? Like I have many videos. If you want to learn how to default things, then you can do that. But what I'm going to do here is Puerto Rico bridge. We're going to do an impact of 2 and a probability of 0.2. And so on the Puerto Rico bridge, a large boat collides. And the owner can be me. I'll put myself in there, and we'll give it a cost of a lot of money, or maybe even more than that, maybe 155. And then we'll hit save. So this was added to my SharePoint list. It's now in my dashboard here. We can see it here in my SharePoint list. It's a brand new line item. Now let's go to the matrix. It should be somewhere down here in the bottom. It's probably right here in the negligible. Obviously, that's not true. If a large boat collides, that's probably, oh, well, no, it is very unlikely, but maybe it should be catastrophic. So let's go back and fix that. So we'll go back in, we'll edit the Puerto Rico bridge. The probability is very low. The impact is huge, though. Huge. So we'll go back to the risk matrix. We can see now we have a 2 here in catastrophic. Puerto Rico bridge. Very unlikely that a large boat collides, but it's catastrophic if that happens. So this was my risk matrix. I hope this gives you ideas. Like this is really neat. This is really powerful. CEOs, CIOs, all your C-class people are going to love this. Your project managers will probably like this. They can watch all their projects from the distance. We could even add the owner field here. So if we added the owner field in here, ThisItem.Owner.display name, we can see who owns each one of these risks. So on this one, we can see, I added myself in here. This gives you a higher level view of all your projects. This is huge. I really like this app. I feel like people make these things and sell them for millions of dollars to watch all of their projects. And I'm showing you how to create this in PowerApps. So we have a nice risk dashboard, red, yellow, greens, got scores, shows the highest risk. Obviously, the new one is a large boat collides. That's your highest risk cost. We have a risk score, and this was my PowerApp, one of the most fun ones I've created. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. If I went too fast, let me know. I'm trying to cut my videos down a little bit because everyone doesn't watch, a full 30-minute video. They kind of skip through. But this was my risk matrix. I hope you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time. My name is Andrew Hess.